Hello, Spartans. For today's 3-minute theology, I'd like to talk to you about one of the ancient symbols we use in our all-school masses, incense. For us as Catholics, the use of incense can be traced all the way back to the tradition of the ancient Israelites, who used incense in their worship of the Lord. Moses was told by the Lord to build an altar of incense for the Tabernacle, or tent of meeting, where the presence of the Lord dwelt among the Israelites. Later, when Solomon built the temple, he built an altar of incense to mirror the one that was in the tabernacle. And when the Jewish priests would go up to make thanksgiving offerings of grain or wine or oil, they would often also accompany that with the burning of incense. Now, that altar of incense stood right in front of the veil that separated the Holy of Holies from the rest of the temple. We Christians took up the tradition of incense fairly early. There's records that say it could go back as early as the 5th century. Certainly in the Roman Church, it goes back at least until the 10th or 11th century. But why incense? Well, for one thing, in the ancient world, incense was a precious commodity. Back then, not too many people took showers or bathed, and you didn't have deodorant. So something like incense, which gives us off a pleasant odor or smell, covered up a lot of the stink that was frankly everywhere. In addition, the incense has a great symbolic value. In Psalm 141, the psalmist writes, "Let my prayer rise up like incense before you, O Lord." When we see the smoke of the incense rising up, we can think of the incense going up like our prayers to God. The ancients actually thought of this in a kind of literal sense, because they thought that what was done in a sacred place like a temple had a parallel in the realm of the divine. So just as incense and the sacrifice was made in the human temple, it was received in the divine temple in heaven. Within the Catholic tradition, we now use incense at several different points during the liturgy. The priest incenses the book of the Gospels, the altar, and the gifts that are placed on the altar to be offered to God. In addition, we now use incense to bless the priest and the people, because the presence of Christ is seen in both the priest who celebrates the Eucharist and the people who participate in the celebration. Incense also serves to veil or cover up something, right? You see the smoke of the incense and it kind of obscures your vision. For the Israelites, this was important because they feared that if they actually saw the glory of God, just plain and simple, they'd actually die because the glory of God was just that powerful. So that was part of the reason why they used incense in the temple, to shield them, in one sense, from God's glory. Now, as Catholics, we don't believe that if we see the Eucharist, we're going to literally die because we see it. But it is a helpful reminder of the fact that God's presence is there, here in these mysteries. And that veil of smoke helps to show us that something mysterious and different is happening, that God's presence is actually here, hidden in the visible signs. Hopefully at our next all-school Mass this Monday, you'll see the incense that we use, and smell it too, and think a little bit about the deep symbolism and richness of this sensible way of praying to God.